order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Thursday, November the 3rd, 2022, 6 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. We'll open with a prayer by Commissioner Cal Allen, and then I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our God, Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have the ability and the rights in this country to assemble and discuss the things that would be helpful to us in our government. We ask you to be with us in our judgments, that they might be righteous and honorable, and that much good can come from our meeting tonight. We ask you also to bless those that are sick and afflicted and unable to be out and be with us. We ask this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the prayer, Commissioner Allen. Okay, and good evening and welcome to everyone, and I thank you all for silencing your phones. If you, like I said before, if you want to speak under the public comments, you need to complete a speaker card and hand that to Keisha. Or if you want to speak under any of our agenda items under the discussion, you'll also need to complete that speaker card for a maximum of 3 minutes with a one-time visit to the podium. And loud outbursts are not allowed. And tonight's meeting may run long. We've got several items that have been tabled numerous times from past meetings. We'll take a recess or two along the way. So be patient with us, and so that we can hopefully work out some of these final decisions on these topics. The first thing we have to consider is the consent agenda, which has the October 6, 2022 regular commission meeting minutes, and then the October 20th special meeting, and the attorney's invoices for September 2022. Has everyone had an opportunity to review these minutes? Do we want to entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, that motion to approve the minutes is by Commissioner Millender. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And the second is by Commissioner Brown. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right, next up we have public comment. And I know that we have Mr. Bill Owen here. He submitted first last week. If you'd like to go ahead, that would be wonderful.
Hi. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bill Owen. I live at Northeast 7th Street in Carrabelle. My wife and I have been there for several years now. I'm currently working to I have a gallery with Bo at Rio Carrabelle, and I'm here tonight not to complain about something, which is something different for me to be in front of the City Commission and not complain, but that'll come later.
Yeah.
I've got 3 minutes. We have some upcoming events at Rio Carrabelle. The Chamber of Commerce has a meet and greet Thursday, November 10th, and y'all are invited. That'll be from 5 to 7. I think there'll be hors d'oeuvres and stuff that evening. And then right now the current exhibit is Roger Leonard. Roger lived on Dog Island for 15 years in almost total seclusion and painted out there. And a lot of his art is in the gallery right now. It's incredible. It's a lot of fun to go see. And on the evening of Thursday, on Saturday, November 12th, right after the chamber meet and greet, we'll have picky foods and drinks, and Roger will be there, and there'll be a 3-piece jazz trio in Carrabelle. We also have paintings in there by Joe Kotzman, Josefa Benavides, Pat Moore. Pat Moore and I are like there all day long using it as a studio, so there's a live painting going on in there all day long. And then in 2023, we'll have music performances at Rio Cabaret, like they used to. They used to do this quite a bit. January 21st, Ballads and Bossa Nova, featuring vocalist Avis Berry. On the 28th, postmodern jazz trio. On the 18th, composer, vocalist, FMU faculty member Daryl Tooks returns from New York City. February 25th, Hot Mess, Blues and Zydeco, and they're awesome. Tammy blew her knee out the last time she was out there because she was dancing with these guys, so she went. And these are all supported by the Elsie Newell Funds for the Performing Arts, and tickets go on sale in December. So that's what's going on over there. Y'all come and see us. We're having a great time. We've met so many nice people coming and going. We've got an open door policy. That's the only way we can get anybody in the place in the first place. So thanks for listening. I bought a sign. If you guys would put that like in the front lobby out there, maybe folks when they're paying their water bill could see it. All right. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Mr. Bill Owen?
No, but thank you for the info, Mr. Owen.
All right. Now I'm going to complain.
Okay, thank you.
Coming here, I
Thank you
pulled
for
up
the
to the
information.
corner of 98 and 67, and I'm a plant guy. I love plants, but they're like this high and you can't see in either direction. I think it's really dangerous. You got to get in the road to get out there and see them.
And
That's it.
Miss Courtney can,
Where did you say 98?
We're 67 and 9, right next to the gallery. If you pull up to that corner on 67 and try and get out on the 98, I actually heard to turn right and go down, turn around, and come back. The muley is like this big in there, so.
and while we're on it then, I've got one you mentioned to me. Mr. Bill mentioned to me earlier this week about the garbage can that sits in front of the old corner store there where Miss Chisholm had her old store. I think he would like that moved over to where there's activity on the other side of the street. Is that
Yeah, that'd be
correct?
great. That'd be great. I'm always picking up garbage around there, so I could throw it in there.
He's trying to put a group of artists to paint on those plywood window coverings that we now look at. in
Yeah,
that
it's
corner
unfortunate that it
store.
looks like Carrabelle's closed because Carrabelle Corner has so many windows and doors all the way around, and it's boarded up. And I don't know, we're trying to get a hold of the owner and get permission, and we could have that all painted up and, open signs and, make it, even if it's just flowers, it'd be better than having it look the way that it is. So,
Well, like I said, if you can get a group together, let us know how we can help you, maybe on the CRA side.
okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Could I add
Thank
just
you.
one word?
Yes, sir.
I've been there this last couple of days, and you do have some beautiful work by some very fine artists in there. And it's worth anybody time to go in there and look and see what's there.
I feel very lucky to be doing what I'm doing, and I feel excited for artists that have been here in Carrabelle their whole lives and never had an opportunity to show at home. Some of these, like Joe Kotzman and Josefa, they were just ecstatic to have the opportunity. And I know that Roger Leonard is too. He's really excited about the night of the 12th. So thanks a lot, guys.
Picasso, he said that all children are artists. The trick is to remain an artist. I've added my line to it is, unfortunately, most the others remain children.
I had to wait till I was 67, Cal. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up, who wants to come up next? Who do we have? Okay, I see Miss Sharon Glaze has her hand raised.
Hello,
Hello, good evening.
I live on Bragdon. It's my 4th anniversary with the city of Carrabelle.
Okay, tell us your name for the record.
Sharon Glaze.
All right.
Live on Bragdon.
Okay, happy anniversary.
Thanks. So I wrote down some thoughts, and I'd like to read them because I have to try to stay under my time limit. Okay? Is that okay? For you to sit in these seats in these hallowed halls is a noble thing and a privilege. Hallowed describes something respected and admired. Noble means you're expected to have high moral principles and ideals. Privilege is a special right granted only to a particular person or group. You hold amongst you the power and authority to change the lives and the experiences of people who both reside and visit this little piece of paradise called Carrabelle. It's a big responsibility, You're charged with ensuring the safety and well-being of all who dwell within these city limits, including the responsibility of taxes, public works, city functions, and ordinances. There are a total of 411 incorporated municipalities in the state of Florida across 67 counties, all with ordinances on the books, including Carrabelle. Ordinances protect public health, safety, and welfare. Code enforcement is required to ensure compliance with county codes, land use regulations, and various statutes. If there were no codes enforced throughout the entire state, it would be pure anarchy, and we have a little taste of anarchy here in Carrabelle. During the meetings and workshops held in this building, an attorney is on hand to make sure the legality of city affairs is clearly understood to run the city efficiently and effectively. Leaders must know the difference between illegal and unethical, and where the line between the two blurs. Something may very well be legal, but still not be ethical or morally right. In your position, you should strive for transparency, explaining your decisions to show that you take no part in questionably deceptive practices, certainly no illegal practices, and to show that you're making moral decisions that are equal and fair to every individual that resides here. A lot of discussions take place in this building. Lots of eloquent words have passed through lots of lips. A silver tongue can show empathy and compassion with their words, but empty words without actions serve no purpose. You prove yourself with your actions or with your lack of action, especially if any hint of deception is perceived. An ethical person strives for integrity, which means being morally sound, even when no one is looking. Matthew 5:37 says, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." Honesty doesn't always win a popularity contest, but are you here to serve or receive Valentines? Anarchy is a state of disorder due to the absence of authority. It's where everyone just has free rein to do whatever they please. It affects everyone. It is regarded as a political ideal. So then what would be the point of government? If we can't trust you with the small things, we will never be able to trust you with the big ones. God grants wisdom to all who ask. We should all live as if someone is watching, because someone is. So make us proud. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sharon Glaze. Do we have another, I think we have someone from the chamber?
Yeah.
It looks like,
Any more public comment?
yeah.
Okay. I see Laura. Were you going to speak under public comment?
I was.
Okay.
I
All right.
have to.
I don't know.
Well, there's an item on the agenda, I didn't know.
No, this is
Something different, okay.
Yeah. This is just to share some things that are going on at the chamber. I'm Lori Doherty. I'm the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
First
Glad to
of all-
have you.
Thank you. We have some new executive board members I wanted to announce tonight. We have our new president, is Penny Hall. She's the pretty blonde back there. And she's the manager of the Carrabelle Beach and Parking Resort. And then we have Debbie Halama. She is the owner of Carrabelle Custom Canvas. She's our vice president. And Clark Klinkenberg, he is the treasurer, and he owns that Florida Pub on 98. It's going to be opening soon out on Carrabelle Beach.
Okay.
So, welcome you guys. Thank you. And we also have Lulu Wilson is also a board member, and she is going to be, she's on the TDC. So she has a seat on the TDC to represent the chamber. So, we just had our Halloween event. I know Commissioner Brown made it out to the event, and it was really nice. We had a lot of kids show up. A lot of families came out, and we had a really good time. They loved the hayride, they loved the games, and wanted to mention to the Carrabelle Police Department and the Franklin County Sheriff, I think they parked their vehicles out on the street on 98. That really brought some attention to the event in the area, and we really appreciated that. So thank you for that. Then we have Shop Small Saturday coming up at the end of November. on November 26th. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that is a day where we promote the small businesses of the area. Try to get everybody to come out. We're going to have a welcome center at the chamber, and we're going to pass out refreshments, and we're going to have a treasure map guide, and all of our retail businesses and restaurants will be on there, and we'll pass that out and send them on their way for shopping. And then last but not least, the holiday on the harbor is December the 10th. This is gonna be fun. We've got a good head start. We've got 18 vendors now and about 5 boats. And it's early, so we're expecting a really good response there. We've got 2 new things for the kids this year. We're gonna have a big inflatable double slide to go with the bouncy house that the sheriff's office always donates each time. And then we're gonna have a petting zoo this year for the kids. So that'll be fun. But we do need sponsors, we do need volunteers, so anybody interested, all of this information is on our website, or you can give me a call and we can definitely put you to work. And that's all I have.
All right, do the commissioners have questions for Lori Doherty?
Thank you, Laura.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you and the chamber for all you do for the city of Carrabelle's businesses and the city of Carrabelle.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we appreciate your promotion of the area. Thank you for coming. Are you under public comment?
Well, I thought I would, since it's Lantern Fest, and that's the
And
main
did you
thing.
complete a speaker card?
Yes, ma'am, I
Okay.
did.
We're trying to,
Oh, no, I
get
did.
people corralled up here to act in a civil manner. We've been working on it for years, and I guess I'll continue.
Well, I'll try to be civil.
Okay.
So I'm Steve Allen, I'm the president of the Carrabelle Lighthouse Association, and since everyone was announcing events, we have an important event coming up on November the 19th. It's the Lantern Fest, and it's the 127th birthday of the Lighthouse, and we'll have Joan Mady's collection of lanterns, and it's a lovely evening. My understanding is that you are going to be one of the lantern ladies. You got to be the lantern lady last year, I believe, and it's a lot of fun. The date of that is Saturday, November 19th from 6 to 10 p.m. We have Bottom Dollar Boys Bluegrass Band, the Tallahassee Community Dancers will be back. They've been here every year. They're a lot of fun. They actually come early and help us set up. Ancient craft demonstrations, tower climbs, museum exhibits. And we plan to feature, we've moved along, progressed enough for the stage to be able, the ship, which is on the image, to be used for the stage this year. So we'll have the dock and the bands in that, and it'll be sort of a new thing. So it's moving along very quickly, and I've been out working, and that's why I won't have a report. But do want you all to come out. I think, need volunteers if you're out of town for the weekend. We've got some time beforehand putting up lanterns. Looking forward to seeing you as the lantern lady, one of the lantern ladies, and that's it.
Okay, do we have questions or comments for Mr. Allen? Okay, and Steve,
Oh yes, it's gonna float for a few minutes, and then it's gonna stand. Then we'll feature it as a shipwreck. Okay.
Sorry.
thank you, Steve, for all the volunteer work you do. We appreciate it,
Yes, ma'am.
and all the work now that you're doing on this boat.
It's coming along quickly. It's, I'm excited. I'm like a little kid.
We appreciate your report too, thank you.
All right.
All right, is there any other public comment? Ms. Keisha, do you have any other cards? All right then, we will move on to the commissioner reports. Do we have Ms. Brown, do you have a report for us?
Well, everyone's covered all the events in Carrabelle. I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Allen, do you have a report for us?
I don't have a report.
Okay, and Commissioner Walden? Commissioner Melander?
No, nothing tonight.
Okay, well, I always have a report, so we'll get right into it. And I want to let everyone know that early in October, the city administrator and Commissioner Brown and Ms. Chase Chisholm, who is an appointed CRA board member, and myself had the honor and the privilege to attend the Florida Redevelopment Association Conference for Florida Community Redevelopment Agencies. And this is an educational opportunity to learn about recent amendments to Florida Statute 163, Part 3, learn about the best practices, policy makings, new ideas and methodologies, leveraging revenues, information on increased accountability and transparency requirements by the state, and overall revitalizing CRA districts. And this year, though, most all of the conference lectures included some reference to Hurricane Ian. Last year, the conference was in Fort Lauderdale, and so, you know, we were able to relate to how it looked recently, last year, and their CRA district took a pretty good hit. So, but CRAs are required to use the increment revenues to provide services within the CRA district that are above and beyond the minimum services that are provided by the city. And CRAs are expected to enhance and build on those minimum services to lift blighted areas to a higher level. One of the lectures given by Attorney Matthew Widener focused on CRAs reclaiming vacant land and abandoned and deteriorated buildings. The discussion included reference to the collapse of the Champlain Tower in Surfside and the horrific destruction to older, unmaintained buildings caused by Hurricane Ian. There was also reference to the mass cancellations of casualty and flood insurance policies throughout Florida in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Because of the multitude of substandard buildings in Florida and their potential to cause damage to other properties during a catastrophe and to become a massive cleanup expense in the aftermath, Mr. Widener strongly expects there will be calls for changes to the building codes by the Florida legislature, like the code changes that took place after Hurricane Andrew in 1996. As well, he absolutely expects the legislature to mandate local governments, that is local governments are county and municipalities, to enforce codes and ordinances on deteriorated and abandoned buildings before they become a hazard during a storm and an insurance liability after a storm. Mr. Widener said there will be a heightened standard of expectation for commercial and residential structures constructed prior to the recent FEMA flood elevation guideline changes. As buildings become older and deteriorated, they are easily wiped out during a catastrophe and forever gone. The appearance of old Florida community is forever changed, just as we see happening right now in Mexico Beach after Hurricane Michael. It is important that at-risk buildings are kept maintained, not only for the reasons previously described, but to preserve the old look that we all love and to preserve the affordable housing and affordable commercial building space we all need. So we can expect some unfunded mandates regarding code enforcement of deteriorated buildings and ongoing building inspections from the legislature. If it, not this upcoming session, the next one. And finally, I want to let everyone know that on behalf of the city of Carrabelle, I received a very kind thank you letter from the sheriff for the $3,000 donation to the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Charity Fund to send much needed supplies to those impacted by Hurricane Ian. That's all I have for this evening, and we'll go to the attorney's report. Thank you.
All right, I don't have much tonight. I do have just one item, just put on everybody's radar, is we have some, which we haven't had for a long time, a revision or at least comp plan amendments. We have a letter from Department of Economic Opportunity. They want us to update our flood hazard mitigation portion text amendment to the plan, and we will also have some zone or land use change amendments, but those will all come before you after running through P and Z first. So we'll kind of get back in that process after a long time that we haven't. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions for the attorney this evening? Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Next, we'll go to our city administrator, Ms. Courtney Dempsey.
I sent out department reports earlier this week. Did everybody get them, and do you have any questions? Department reports. I also wanted to add into the mayor's discussion on the CRA conference. I attended a session there on funding eligibility that told us what was eligible and what wasn't. And I know I reported this to you guys during our CRA meeting, since we have more people here. That we've been funding some things that weren't eligible to be funded, and that we're gonna have to stop funding those. And so you'll see an item on the agenda for the chamber requesting some funding for fireworks, and that results from this. This is a result from the conference and finding out that we weren't able to fund that out of CRA money. So just background on that a little bit. I wanted to report to you guys, since April of 2021, the mayor and I have been working through Chester Butler as the city's volunteer liaison to the Scaling Up Nature-Based Solutions Project, which is called SUNS Project, which is managed by the Nature Conservancy. They are working with the Northwest Florida Water Management District and the regional planning councils to develop qualifying stormwater mitigation projects in Bay, Gulf, and Franklin counties. These potential projects will receive grant funding from Walmart for restoration and strengthening of natural features and mitigation. The 3 qualifying projects have been identified in the city of Carrabelle, but one of those locations was recently sold and is being developed as a subdivision. The remaining 2 qualifying Carrabelle projects are Gray Avenue 12th Street flood mitigation, which would include enlarging the culvert or adding an additional culvert under Highway 98 that leads to the bay. And the second project is called the Updated Carrabelle's Major Stormwater Facility, which is located between Northwest Avenue A and Northwest Avenue C, just off of Northwest 2nd Street. All qualifying projects in the 3 counties will be formally announced by the Nature Conservancy in January of 2023, and that will include the 2 Carrabelle projects. And they've already looked at these projects, and we're very favorable with the Carrabelle projects.
Good.
So that's going to be an upcoming.
Did you have a comment, Commissioner Bell?
I do. Question. Back that we had 3, made me think of what you just described about that land purchase and change of ownership. I'm concerned that that change of ownership is still not going to help with flood mitigation there.
No, it wouldn't. The project would come off of the list.
Excuse me?
It would. The project would come off of the list.
I'm concerned that it would come off the list because it's still going to be an issue.
That's correct.
It was one of the, I believe I looked through all of them now. Now we're talking about projects in Port St. Joe, Mexico Beach, Bay
Yes.
County. And that one project was the highest scoring. It was pretty high scoring. And I don't know how they work with public, private landowners. I'm not real sure on that.
Well,
And they've been informed that it's a private landowner now.
that's the reason why they took it off the project.
Well, I haven't heard for sure that they have, but
All of the others are public-owned land, all the other projects.
Or public owned.
Like beaches, sand dunes, rebuilding, that kind of things.
Got you, understand it, but it's still running through my mind that there's, on these private lands that we have these lowlands and flooding issues, it seems to always fall back on the city. And I still have questions why we can't include
We can ask.
some of those
yeah,
concerns.
exactly. We can ask.
I've got, I hear this lady who's the director who's heading it up, Christine Shepherd, I can send her an email and ask her in a heartbeat.
My opinion of that is, and I agree, Mayor, is ask the question. If we don't ask the question, we may miss the boat before we could have gotten on it. So that's my concern there. I'd rather include some of those if at all possible.
We'll
2
check
of them are in
into
it.
that.
2 of them are,
Yeah.
but one of them is a concern.
Yeah.
Which also, that one's gonna have an effect on this one that we're having from Gray Avenue all the way to the bay.
It is. I will check with that.
Thank you.
We have a couple of job openings One was the water and sewer department. We budgeted for a new employee, and so Charlie's asked that we go ahead and advertise that one. Our streets and roads had an unexpected leave, so we have an unexpected opening. And I'm gonna ask for permission for staff to go ahead and fill that position instead of having to wait. We're kind of in a circumstance where we only have 2 employees, and if one's out, then we only have 1 employee. And then this past week, we had one that he had a doctor's appointment 2 different days, so we only had 1 employee
And
2
plus-
days this week.
Plus, the inmates are undependable when it's going to be, they're going to allow the inmates to come out.
They don't
to work.
always, if they're on lockdown or, they don't always let an inmate out, and they're only getting 1 to 2 inmates per person, so we don't have a full staff. I know we don't normally do this way, but if we had to wait until we advertised for 2 weeks and then went out to 2 weeks later before we hired, then had to come back to a city meeting. We've got Lantern Fest coming up, we've got Holiday on the Harbor, they've got to hang Christmas lights, and we're down an employee. So that's.
And if, one of them calls in sick, just like Ms. Courtney said, then last week we had a couple of days where we had 1 employee and there were no inmates on, so we really, you're asking to.
Just for this one time to let staff, we usually make a recommendation to you guys, but to let staff hire without having to come back to the board.
We need a motion for that.
And we would need a motion for that, since we generally always approve the staff's recommendations.
Now, on the water and sewer employee, it would be back to the regular way we always do it.
So as a special exception, Courtney is asking for her and Dustin to do the interviewing as they do, and then to decide on the recommendation as they do. And we have over the past years taken their recommendation, but they would like to be able to go ahead and hire now without having to postpone and wait for another commission meeting, because they need to get this person trained for handling inmates and out on the streets working.
However, you still have to advertise, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because legally, I think we have to.
It has been advertised in-house. Tomorrow's the last day, and then the advertisement in the paper is our next week.
I'll make a motion that we allow staff to hire for this position for this one time.
Okay, we have that motion by Commissioner Brown. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and that's to
Do we know who the
hire this
person
for this.
is?
I beg your pardon?
Do we know who the person that you're hiring?
No, we haven't been
Okay,
advertised.
and ma'am, if you want to speak, would you please let me know and you can come to the podium? They're going to be advertising for an employee like they normally do. That's correct?
That's correct. It has not been advertised, so we do not have any applicants at this time.
And then you, after you advertise, you will do your regular
We
interview
do our job
process
interviews.
with you and the superintendent of Streets and Roads Department. And and then generally, they make a recommendation to the commission at the commission meeting, and we approve their recommendations. But because they're so shorthanded, they're asking that we bypass that one approval this time. Now, aren't they on a year's probation?
Yes, they're on a 1-year probation.
Okay.
Courtney, how much time is that gonna save you?
Can save me about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so, but we don't have a second.
Yeah,
We have,
Commissioner Allen.
Commissioner Allen, okay.
I'll second.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I got distracted. Sorry. Okay, now we're in discussion, which we have been. All right. Thank y'all. Do we have any other discussion? Commissioner Brown has made a motion to allow staff to hire this one time without coming for commission approval.
I do understand what Courtney is asking for, and I do understand the shorthandedness with streets and roads, see it very much. Don't mind doing it, Mr. Attorney, sitting of presidents.
Yeah, years ago, this is going back a long way in time, it's probably been almost 10 years, the commission took back to itself the hiring, power to hire. So it was and since we have an administrator form of government, not manager, so I believe it is within your authority to delegate that to the administrator, but you do want to, as you've already done, as the motion is done, kind of define it. You want to lay out how it's going to go. You wouldn't want to generally do anything here, be very specific, and you were. So I think it's fine.
The only thing I'd like to see staff do, Courtney, is if you have any kind of red flags, maybe slow it down and speak to the commissioners, the mayor, commissioners. But, okay.
And all applications will be
Yeah.
here for you guys to review as we
Sure.
receive them.
Okay.
And we have, I know, anytime we hire, I'm always offered to review
Correct.
the applications, so.
Correct.
And I want to make it clear that the motion, Commissioner Brown, is to allow staff to hire this one time for the Streets and Roads Department only. Is that's correct? Okay. Without commission approval. Okay. You have that, Ms. Keisha?
Well, I feel like we're kind of giving approval. We're giving Courtney that authority, so, yeah.
All right, is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries.
So with that being said, you guys get the word out there that we have 2 job openings because we have not had a good turnout in our last couple of times we've hired. So if y'all know anyone that's looking for a job,
And the benefits are amazing.
please come pick up an application.
Those 2 jobs are, Courtney, for the public
One's
benefits.
for the Water and Sewer Department and one is for the Streets and Roads Department.
Okay.
And then I think the chief is gonna give a little report, under my report.
Good evening. So, the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we received, that the commission approved and allotted to us $45,000 for a new vehicle, we have purchased, and you've probably seen the vehicle around. It's parked out front here tonight, and it's a 2022 Ford Explorer. The pricing on it was $36,200. If you were to buy that vehicle just as a regular citizen outright from the dealership, it'd be about $44,000. But because it's under a government contract as a police vehicle, they get it at a reduced price. We were able to transfer a lot of equipment from the car that we have out there in the parking lot to the new vehicle, so it saved us quite a bit of money that way as well. And I wanted to let the citizens and the commission know that we saved about $3,500 total from the $45,000 that was allotted. So there's a little extra money there that needs to be used in other places. During break, if you guys would like to take a look at it, Officer Riley's here tonight. He would love me to show you his silver. They didn't have any white ones available. So talked to Courtney. Courtney said, hey, let's do white lettering on it, make it look like a ghost pattern, what they call ghosting. And it turned out really, really well on that. Very happy with it. There was a rumor going around that it has a canine cage in it, and I just wanted to let everybody know that that does not have a canine cage. It has what we call a half cage. All of our police vehicles have it. It is just for humans. So, if anybody would like to take a ride in the back seat, let us know. We'd be more than happy to accommodate you. So, but I just wanted to bring that before the commission tonight, give you guys an update, and would love for you to take a look at it. I think that is our 4th vehicle now in the last year and a half through other funding. The great thing is we only finance 1 out of the 4 new ones that we've purchased over the last few years. So it's working out really well, and our fleet is up to date for a long time, so we shouldn't have to have any vehicles for a while. So, but I would love for you guys to take a look at it. I'm very proud of it. Officer Riley really enjoys it. He's very thankful for it as well. And any citizens, anybody who wants to take a look at it, any of our vehicles, any of our stuff, you're more than welcome. Call me. Come by this evening. I have an open door policy. You guys are more than welcome to stop by anytime. So that's all.
All right, well, I thank you very much. Do we have questions to Chief Schuman regarding anything that he's just talked about, or the vehicle? Okay. Have we mentioned in the past that the Taurus now has been turned over for administrative use?
Yeah, the Taurus,
Okay.
yeah, we turned it over to Courtney and Keisha to use for city business. One thing also too, I want to mention too, is we were able to move the radar and the radio and lights and everything out of that car into this vehicle, so it saved us quite a bit of money. And so that was really good of Williams Communications to work with us on that and get that changed over. But yeah, they have the use of the new car now. I think they're waiting to get it scheduled for unstriping.
She said wait till after Seafood Festival, so sometime next week we'll take it over and they'll take the police off and put some.
Okay, all right, well, I thank you very much.
Police on me.
No, I don't want them to get shot at.
I want Keisha to be.
Okay, now we have a question. Would you come forward, please, and state your name? And it may be a question for you, Chief, I don't know.
Living humor.
My name's Susie Modispatcher.
Okay, speak it in because we're recording audio.
Susie Modispatcher. Now, what's up with the car that's sitting out at the or the forest station at 98?
So we have, that's our officer who lives out in the next county, and he just drives it there, so it's easier for him to get access to it. It's
Okay.
still within our county.
Okay, because
We
I
have
see
a
it
county
there all the
policy.
time.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thank you very much. Thank you, Officer Riley, for bringing your drive in for us to see and letting us take a look during recess as well. Okay. All right, do we have any other questions for Ms. Courtney? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we'll move on to the city clerk.
All right, get your calendars out. November 8th is election day, so make sure everybody gets out and vote. They have early voting going on now until then, so, and that is at the courthouse annex here in Carrabelle. November 11th.
Courthouse annex for early voting, but regular voting will be at the senior.
Yes, your normal polling place, yes.
Yes,
At the Senior Center on Avenue F.
Right.
correct. Thank you.
November 11th will be closed for Veterans Day. November 17th is our scheduled P&Z meeting at 2 o'clock. I don't have anything as of now, but that could change. November 17th will be our swearing-in meeting for the election for the newly elected commissioners. That will be at 6 o'clock, like we normally do, and that's in our charter. So November 24th and 25th, we will be closed for Thanksgiving. We need to schedule, oh, I knew I was forgetting one. November 15th at 1:30 is the CRA meeting.
I've just advised the commissioner, if you have something to say, just let us know or when we get into discussion. Thanks.
We need to schedule a meeting for November 29th at 5:01 to do our final amended budget for this past year. We need to close it out. November 29th.
And you say you need a motion for that special meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
And then December 1st will be our next city meeting.
Okay, all right. And is that all then?
That's all.
Okay, did everyone get that? All right. Do we have a motion for the November 29th at 5:01 p.m. To do our final amended budget for the 2021-2022 year?
I'll make the motion
Okay,
to schedule that.
thank you. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, and that motion for that special meeting on the 29th is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Millender. Do we have any discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. And then we know we will be having one new commissioner, so the commissioners, there's two candidates in the room, and be advised that there will be a special meeting on the 29th at 5:01. Okay? All right. Any other questions for Ms. Keisha? Any other comments for Ms. Keisha? All right, we'll move on to the Innovia report. Thank you.
Thank you. For the DOT Small Communities Outreach Project, The Hill, we'll be coordinating with North Florida Asphalt to receive their final pay request, and then coordinating with DOT for reimbursement for the DOT portion of that funding. The additional road paving projects were completed, and that pay request was reviewed and approved and has been processed at this point. So for the next DOT Small Communities Outreach Project, that grant cycle opens on December 1st. We discussed this at the last meeting, considering the Baywood Drive improvements, submitting that project for funding for this program. Okay, very good. For the Lighthouse Estates project, the water main construction is better than 90% complete. The contractor scheduled pressure and leak testing this week, so we've had representatives on site to witness that. That testing will continue tomorrow and likely some next week. Let's see, we have received additional connection requests, and those will be included as a change order to the contractor. We're in the process of developing that change order, which would be within the current funding limits. And again, once testing is complete, those mains will be placed into service, and at that point, individual connections will be installed. On the Marine Street CDBG project, the environmental review and request to release funds that was submitted to DEO through Fox Enterprises, and the authority to use that grant fund is expected to be issued by the end of November, we're told. Lastly, on the Carrabelle Cemetery, I think we're waiting for the survey to be completed before we ordered the geotechnical work there. And I'm not aware that that survey has been completed yet.
Has it been completed, Ms.
He's
Porter?
still working, he hasn't got it to us yet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So we'll just monitor that and make sure we get that.
Okay, so we'll go back, and I know we may have questions, but we'll go ahead and address the, Russell wants to know if we want to approve the FDOT Scott grant application for the stormwater drainage improvements and resurfacing of Baywood Drive to submit again to the FDOT for the third time.
Yes.
But we did that for the Southeast Avenue D and Fifth Street. I believe the third time was a win on that. So would we like to submit again?
I'm gonna make a motion to resubmit that grant.
I'll second.
Okay. That motion to resubmit the FDOT Scott grant application for Baywood Drive is made by Commissioner Millender, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any other discussion? Okay, and I will ask, will this be, are you going to up the request amount?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We will,
Uh-huh.
based on the best available historical cost information.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions or comments for Mr. Russell? Okay.
I have one. On Lighthouse Point,
Yes.
do you have an estimated time that those are gonna come online? You had mentioned about them coming online. Do you have an estimated date or time for that?
Yes, the contractor was anticipating that sometime within the month of November. I suspect that will bleed into December and January. It'll take a considerable amount of time to go household by household to make those individual connections. So it'll be over a period of months, but
Okay,
I expect that'll begin as soon as that testing is completed.
okay, thank you.
So as the individual homes are connected, each individual home will come online one at a time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
It won't be one big massive,
That's right.
turn the valve and they're all
Right,
getting
right.
water and sewer. And then they have to abandon the septic tanks. They're gonna probably, Charlie said, do that at the same time they're doing
They
the
will.
private connections.
Right. Lastly, I just want to introduce a new employee that we have, and you may see more of him, Steve Spence here, and he's been witnessing the pressure test this week. So,
All right,
All right.
very good. Nice to see you, Mr. Spence.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it. All right, any other questions or comments for Mr. Large?
You're not retiring from us.
no, I'll be here.
Thank you, Mills.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the advisory, I beg your pardon?
We need to vote
On that grant.
on that motion.
Oh, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Okay, we have that motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion on the FDOT Scott grant application? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries, and thank you very much for the reminder. Okay, gonna move on to advisory board reports. And the Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership, Ms. Tamara, do you have anything? Okay. Do we have any questions or comments for Ms. Tamara? I just want to mention that she wrote that and this was a congratulation, that the Carrabelle History Museum was recognized by the Tallahassee Leon County Trust Historic Preservation on October the 25th. And I think you went to an event there?
We did, it was lovely. Just a
Okay.
lovely recognition. They did a nice movie, if they'll ever let us look at it. We'll show it to you.
All right, maybe it'll be on the Florida Channel.
Maybe so.
Okay.
And we do have a bid opening tomorrow at 2:30 for the elevator project, so that is open to the public if anyone wants to come. So far, we've only received one bid.
Super.
All right, thank you. And then the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board, Mr. Tim, is not here tonight, but is there a representative from Kimley Horn here this evening? Okay, thank you. And please come forward and introduce yourselves. And these are our airport aviation engineer, Kimley Horn representatives.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Slaughterback. I'm the project manager from Kinlinghorn for the environmental assessment for the taxiway project.
And I'm Connor Chambliss, engineer for Kinlinghorn. As you mentioned, we work out at the airport, and we're currently underway on a project for an environmental assessment, which is a precursor to the design and construction of a taxiway, parallel taxiway. We brought a graphic here just for a visual for the commissioners and the mayor to see. So it's a portion of runway 523, and the new taxiway will be running through here. There will be some clearing that will be needed as you get over to the southeast corner where there's a proposed future hangar development. So currently right now we're moving through the environmental phase of the project. We've been compiling certain reports.
Hold that up so they can see. They're straining their necks.
I'm sorry, and it might be hard for y'all to see. But yeah, we are currently compiling various reports as part of the environmental phase. And Lindsay's going to give a little bit more information on kind of the next steps as we go into some future meetings.
Yeah, so as part of the project, we're required to do a public meeting. So that is scheduled for Wednesday, November 16th from 6 to 7 right here in City Hall. So if you all are interested in this nice concept board, we'll have a bunch of them. And we've been noticing public and elected officials, so I apologize. I think you all got some late Friday afternoon emails from me with all the information. So we have some flyers for that and the newsletter that I also shared with you all, and we'll put them out front so members of the public can take them. But again, it's for the public to see our technical reports, the draft version, because they're not completely done yet, and to see some nice graphics. So we hope to see you all there.
Okay, thank you. Do the, go ahead.
The date, November 16th.
16.
Here at City Hall at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Do we have questions or comments? All right, well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for your
you're
time
welcome.
tonight.
Okay, and you're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but I know you have to go to Tallahassee.
We'll be here, but
Thank
thank you so much.
All right, then the next up under advisory board reports is the HR committee, who we have reconvened temporarily, briefly, and Mr. Tom Magnan is our moderator and secretary, and he'll report on that.
What's the best way for me to do it?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Magnan.
Well, we held our first HR meeting with a goal of having a job description ready for you to look at for the newly established position that is right now unnamed. I guess we don't have a job title yet, but it has to do with. It was approved by the commission, and that position is being funded by the CRA. It involves cleaning, maintenance, and landscaping for the CRA district, which has been expanded recently. So, and part of the task will be writing a job description that covers not only the old section, but also the new section. To do that, we're using the landscaping manual from the CRA, which is very detailed, and kind of lays out all the different tasks that a person who would take that job needs to be aware of and needs to be really skilled at. And some of the jobs are require more skill than others, but they're all important. And I guess I assume that all of you have read my minutes from the meeting.
I did. Did
Okay.
everyone else read Mr. Magnan's minutes?
Yes.
Yes, sir, they're
Okay.
saying yes.
Okay, well, in those minutes, the committee came up with 2 questions that we'd like some feedback on. And one is, who is gonna be the supervisor for the person that's hired for this job? And also, having reviewed the job and and kind of the responsibility and skills that are needed, we were questioning whether the suggested rate of $13 to $13.50 an hour is gonna be adequate to get a person that's really qualified to do all the things that job demands. So, I guess we don't expect an answer tonight, but something certainly that you can think about and ponder, and maybe before our next meeting, which is gonna be next week on the 9th, you could give us some feedback about that. Another thing that we decided at the meeting was that Courtney was gonna write a draft job description, and she indeed has done that and sent it to all the committee members. And we're gonna go over that at our meeting on next week on the 9th. And so I think we'll need to have some kind of answers to those 2 issues that I just brought up at that time. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for I guess part A of what we were talking about that night. Does anybody have any questions about any of that I've just?
Well, let me ask the board if they want to discuss now briefly who they think would be the supervisor of this new employee. And then I have a suggestion regarding the rate. At each CRA meeting, our board reviews our expense to budget and our budget. And I would put an agenda item on the November 15th CRA meeting that, we could review the rate. Would that be all right with this board if we do that, review that rate at November the 15th at the CRA meeting?
That would be, yeah.
Okay, and a little side note to the candidates that are in here, this board sits, as I mentioned before, as a Community Redevelopment Agency board, and they meet every third Tuesday at 1:30. Okay, excuse me, Mr. Magnan. So who all do you think, did you have in mind for the supervisor?
How about the road and street supervisor? He'll
That's-
out.
That did come up at the meeting. That would be
And so
probably-
Commissioner Millender is approving or nodding yes to Commissioner Walden's suggestion, and as am I, and as.
That makes the most sense.
Well,
Mhm.
I'd like to say, and I said it, way before tonight, I thought that, the street and road supervisor should supervise the position. Two supervisors, I saw that try to work before, it doesn't work. One supervisor, and I think Dustin, the job that our CRA person is gonna be doing is not all that different from what Streets and Roads is doing. There's some detailed specifics that's in the CRA that employee is gonna be responsible for, but primarily, Streets and Roads does the same job virtually. There is a little bit of variation, and I think Dustin should be the supervisor for that position.
I agree, and the Streets and Roads Department, with the limited staff they have, I think they do a great job.
Absolutely.
They keep our Sands Park and Tilly Miller Park and Lighthouse, and they even go out and mow around the airport, the detail work at the airport. So, excuse me, they mow around the runways at the airport. But if our CRA district could be kept looking just as good as the rest of the city, I would be happy at this point. I would be pleased. So,
I do have
okay.
something to say on that. Is, we've done this before, but I know we've moved away from it, but I know there's no problem doing it. But it is a separate agency, the CRA, so it probably wouldn't, having a city employee, head of a department, without a CRA title, directing a CRA employee would be a problem, I think. I think it would, I understand the lot, I mean, as a practical matter, I totally get it. I mean, it makes the most sense. But I know what we bounced this around a little bit before. Courtney wears two hats, being, and you hate to run it back through Courtney, but she can, we have to decide how we want to do this. We have two ways of doing it, I think. One is running it through Courtney. The second is paying Dustin something from the CRA budget so that he's essentially wearing two hats a little bit also to oversee that.
That would mean that Dustin would need, his job title would be altered a little bit, similar to how Miranda's job title was altered back to include HR supervisor, or whatever it is, administrative. She's got like 3 titles now. So we would, and when we refer to Courtney a lot of times, we go city administrator / CRA director.
Right.
Change his title a little bit.
I had thought about that already, and I agree that that some of the CRA funding could support some of Dustin's salary, and him be supervising CRA and Streets and Roads, or a CRA employee in Streets and Roads. Ever how we need to do it legally, that's the way I would like to do it myself. I can't speak for the other members. I think that would be the logical, practical, and the most workable way for it to be handled. And anyway, that's my opinion of it. There's more thought, but that's my opinion.
And we could look at the budgeting on that on the 15th of when we have that meeting. But something, you're suggesting something like a small merit raise to take on those extra responsibilities? No?
No.
Okay.
Span of control in a supervisory position nationwide is 6 to 1. He has 2 employees.
Mm-hmm.
He's been actually doing a large percent of the work in the CRA district
Yes, they have.
as we see it right now.
Exactly.
So it's really not gonna be much of a change for him.
Okay,
It's just gonna be an additional employee.
all right. And I agree, and that would be then just a title
Correct.
change, of his job description.
Or
But-
add to his,
But yes, Mr. Magnan, the Streets and Roads Department has been doing all of the expanded district. The Streets and Roads Department has been doing that since Carrabelle has had a Streets and Roads Department.
I just add that did come up at the meeting too, about if Dustin is gonna take on that extra responsibility, he probably should be compensated something extra for that. So we did that was part of our discussion. But of course, that's up to you.
And Ms. Courtney takes on a lot of CRA duties, a tremendous amount, and she's not reimbursed, she's not given any extra funding for that, those extra duties.
a lot of our city employees do.
Ms. Miranda, Keisha does the minutes for us, so,
Yes.
Okay.
and Miranda does the finance work on it. But Courtney has the largest bulk of the work being the CRA director. And
Just giving you the information.
the airport
was
manager,
discussed.
Courtney's the airport manager as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
I know, I mean, knowing what, even what I know as a citizen and as a, on the HR committee, I realize how many hats the employees have, particularly the department heads, I think.
With Dustin taking the responsibilities, if you will, and when I say taking, I want to say that carefully because I believe what I already stated, that he's been doing the work virtually now, has been for quite some time. But him being titled to some degree in the CRA project, Courtney's still his boss. Regardless of what his title is, Courtney is still his boss.
I have a question.
Okay.
While you guys were discussing this position, did you discuss at all hiring the employee versus how we have it now, which would be a contract work? And if that, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, our understanding is that the person is gonna be an employee, not a contractor,
Right.
not somebody that is contracted, that it would be an employee, but would be, funded by the CRA. I mean, that's the way we've been instructed to approach it,
And some of the committee members did question that in the beginning, but we were tasked to look at employee and not contractors, so that was what we did.
In fact, Courtney, when she was writing the draft of that job description, you could see in that job description, that direction had changed to an employee rather than somebody's contract. Isn't that so, Courtney? I mean, that's what
Yes.
that's what I get from it anyway.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, okay, well, that was that, and any other discussion or questions about that?
No, sir, not
Okay,
that item.
So we'll just keep going on that next week, and we'll see where we go with it. We expect to have a job description, and the way Courtney set it up on the draft is that she would use the manual, the CRA manual for that job, which as I say, is very detailed, and that would go along with the job description. The duties would be in the job description, and the details would still be in the manual, so.
And the way I wrote that up is I wrote the job description and I put it in there as the first item in the job description. We'll follow the landscape manual, and then I think what we'll do is include the manual as an attachment to the job description, because if we put all of that in the job description, we have 25 pages of job description.
And it was so detailed because it was not quite that detailed, but back in, I think it was, 2017, we had a member of the public who wanted it to be detailed, and so we had our engineer drew up the specifications, and it got really detailed. But it was good because when you have a contractor, if you don't lay everything out, even including the exact day of the week that they're supposed to pick up the litter, then, you know, it's just ends up being a free-for-all, and you don't know when they're gonna show up for work.
I certainly agree with that, and it's detailed, but it's a good thing it's detailed too, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I wanted to ask, was there any discussion at this meeting that you all had regarding the Juneteenth federal holiday?
We did have a discussion of that, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that it's something that the department heads really cared about, you know, and I think I put in the minutes that they didn't want that holiday to substitute for an existing holiday. And saw that more as a floating holiday too, which is I guess not as desirable as having a Monday holiday. But we didn't reach any conclusion on it. I know Courtney was gonna, I don't know if you had a chance to call around at all, Courtney.
I have a few of them, but I'm not done yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we didn't have a whole lot of time to work on that, so we'll bring that up, and we'll try to get as much information as we can about that.
And for me, I'm mostly interested in what the other government agencies, how many holidays they get throughout the year, and what those holidays are, so that we can, you know, kind of offer the same.
Okay. And we did realize that that's a federal holiday, and it's important to recognize it, so.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions or comments for Mr. Magnan?
Just
Well,
want to thank you again, Mr. Tom, for your work. Appreciate you.
and thank you, Mr. Thomas, volunteering to moderate this committee that we have, and we appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next up would be the Crooked River Lighthouse Association. Do you have a report, Steve?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. We heard you earlier,
Oh,
and
I
your
got it.
lantern vest
Okay.
and your
Thanks.
pirate ship and all is good. Okay, so public hearing would be next, and we have no public hearing this evening. Quasi judicial hearing, we have no quasi judicial hearing this evening. So next up would be new business, and would we like to take a recess before well, we can do new business and take a recess before old business. Would that be all right? All right. New business, and we have discussion and possible action concerning the Chamber's request to the city for funding of the Holiday on the Harbor fireworks. And do we have a member of the Chamber who wants to come up and represent? Ms. Deborah?
I need
Okay, okay, all right. Commissioner Brown also has something she wants to say before you speak, Ms. Deborah.
I just want to publicly disclose that I do sometimes volunteer with the chamber, and there is a chance that I will be doing contract paid work for graphics and IT. I spoke to our city attorney. There's no conflicts, but I just wanted to disclose that for the public.
Will that have a problem that won't have a problem with the voting on whether or not to pay for the fireworks?
No, not unless
Okay.
it results in pecuniary gain to the commissioner voting on it, which
Okay.
it would not.
All right, very good. Thank y'all for looking into that. Okay, Ms. Debbie.
I'm not really sure, from my understanding, Ms. Courtney and Chase, I guess, went to a convention that was held by the FRA, and they were under the impression that they should not fund from the CRA fund an annual event or fireworks specifically. I did reach out to the city attorney to ask him. He said he was gonna look into it a little bit. I don't know if you did.
Yes, I mean, we've had further discussion on this, and the recommendation is that, and especially because it's a regular event, basically, since it's in a gray area, the recommendation is that we change the budgeting to pay for it, if the city's gonna support it and pay for it out of the regular budget, not out of CRA money, but CRA can help out somewhere else.
Okay, well, you know,
Be safe.
I'm happy with however, as long as you give us the budget, and we get it. But I will point out a couple of things, because I did do a little research, because that's kind of what I do. And just for instance, Lake Worth, Florida, they host an annual celebration of death. It's an annual event, and it comes out of their CRA funds. Homestead, Florida, they host an annual Military Appreciation Day, comes out of their CRA funds.
And that's Homestead?
Yes.
I'll be calling.
You're getting
Yeah.
people in trouble.
West Augustine, they host a
Who did you
annual,
say?
West Augustine,
Okay.
they host an annual Christmas in the Park, comes out of their annual fund. It is in what you guys wrote up as your nonprofit organization events or nonprofit grant program. It definitely specifies that we would qualify. We do bring feet to the streets, let alone possibly heads to beds, which I hope that in the future, because I understand if you don't want to, after this December, I mean, obviously, we've already advertised, Mayor, you've had it on your Facebook since September, shows fireworks on our poster. Obviously, we've already put money into marketing. It's already been advertised. It's been an annual event for probably before I got here, for sure. And I'm not opposed to however you want to decide to pay for it, but obviously, it's too late in the game for us to all of a sudden try to come up with money to pay for it. I'm all for trying to go to the TDC, or because I do think we should be able to get a grant from them. There's no doubt that that could be an event that would bring heads to beds. So I would, you know, in the future, we could look at fundraising or try to get another grant from somewhere else, or come after you in a different way with the city instead of CRA funds. But, you know, for this year, I think it's kind of late in the game to play around. And I fully respect your decision, whatever that is, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that I did look. And that, you know, I only did it for a half hour. I'm sure if I spent longer, I could have found a lot more cities in Florida that are using CRA grant money for annual events. Because as long as you have that district, I think, open and you're still doing improvements, then having an annual event is still beautifying and getting people to view what you're doing. So I think it would still qualify. But I understand, you know, there's a lot of maybes, and if it's a maybe, we decide not to. But that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. And what we'll do is I'll ask the attorney now, and I had mentioned it before, but it didn't seem necessary, to reach out to the attorney that gave that lecture, and we can get you that information right quick, so that you can get all of the details and where you may need to reach out to find. And I will reach to Debbie and get the name of these cities better, and the name of their events, so that we can question these cities on how they do it. There's an online site with the Florida Redevelopment Association where you can ask these type of questions. We have heard plenty of horror stories where CRAs were shut down. CRA members and directors are, you know, fined or looking at serving time because of, you know, inappropriate funding, misallocation. And we've got our CRA on board, and it's running right according to the Florida Statute 163 Part 3. And while I'm here, it's gonna run right, because so we'll do what we can do. So right now we're going to address this request for a holiday on the harbor fireworks funding. And Ms. Keisha, how much is that going to be?
Approximately
I
7,500.
think it was 6,000, but you put a little extra.
Because he went up last time on us, so I haven't.
But have you talked to him recently now?
No, he reached out to me, but I did not want to schedule anything without knowing where the money's coming from, so. But it was 6,000 was what was quoted, so.
Okay. So and we understand it's a short notice for all of us, and also, what Courtney learned, and we want you to follow up on that, Mr. Hartman, is the funding of, promotions, giving, money to, nonprofits for, promotion, advertising, or hiring bands, or whatever.
And I can pretty affirmatively say, based on the 2010 Attorney General opinion, we cannot give money to the not-for-profit. What we're talking about is the CRA paying direct for an event that happens in the district, and obviously not-for-profit can operate around it, but we can't give money directly to not-for-profits.
Mayor.
Yes.
And that was in August of 2022, so that was just earlier, so
It should be about the same.
Uh-huh.
We have, on our budget, I took a look, we have cemetery reserve at $10,000. We could use from there this one time. When we do our budget next year, we're gonna have to take a serious look at this money that we're gonna be spending close to $30,000 on fireworks. All of the other fireworks in the county are funded through donations. This is the only governing board that pays for fireworks with tax dollars.
I would like to echo that myself. I've had some discussion with other folks, thought about it. It's just difficult to budget, for me, to sit up here and budget taxpayers' money, especially in the amounts that we're going into for fireworks. Don't misunderstand me. I really love and appreciate, especially on the 4th of July fireworks. I know most, can't speak for everyone, but the ones that I have spoke with, most all the fireworks, especially here in Franklin County, as the mayor stated, they're all funded by donations, with the exception of the city of Carrabelle. And we've been paying for them out of taxpayers' money. And I don't know that that's the right thing or the wrong thing, but I would like to encourage, especially the chamber, which has a big voice, big voice in Carrabelle, a big voice throughout the county, and a big voice throughout Apalachicola, to try to promote and encourage and see if we can get participation in funding by donations some of the fireworks that we have. And there's a lot more I'd like to say, but I'll stop with it at that right there. I'd love to see that happen. And I would help any way that I could.
Yes, please.
As I stated earlier, I volunteer with the chamber and speak to them pretty much every day, at least one of them. And I have been speaking to them about taking over the responsibility of the 4th of July so that that would not be on the city budget anymore. And they would be able to take in donations exactly like what Commissioner Millender is talking about. So that is something we've been discussing, and I've talked to them about it, so hopefully that'll ease your mind a little bit. But I do think that it is a little short notice for us to pull this funding from them when the event is a month away. So I'm just hoping that at least this one time we can support them and find a way to fund the holiday on the harbor this year.
All right, and please, everyone note that we're not pulling funding from them. Miss Keisha always orders the fireworks, and you and I sign the check for the fireworks. And we fund the fireworks. The CRA funds the fireworks. That's not money that was given to the chamber. The CRA supported or partnered in the event with the chamber. And before the CRA started doing that, the city partnered. I actually think it was a volunteer person who donated the money.
Well,
it was
years ago.
It was a private donor, and also I can go back historically quite some time. when fireworks was first started in Carrabelle, I was pretty young. And my family members did every bit of it on donation. They went around through the community, there's people out there, believe it or not, that would donate. And we just need to reach to those people, reach out to those people and contact them. And I don't know if, well, Keisha may not even been born at that time. But anyway, they were all funded by donations, and we used to have wonderful fireworks. Thank you.
If I could just say one thing about that is, that's why I said I have no problem in the future. I've lived in a lot of different communities. I moved around a lot, always involved. And this is the first city that paid for the fireworks somehow. Normally we would ask firemen, police to do a weekend with boots in the streets to collect money, or, you know, go to all the private businesses and get them involved, because it's for them too, and for their children and their families to enjoy. So I don't have a problem with that. My only problem is being here just 2 years and didn't have to worry about it, to have it all of a sudden when we've already been advertising it and we can't do the budget for it at this late a date. It'd be kind of hard for me to find a single donor to just drop it.
Okay, we understand that.
Okay.
And I'm just going to go ahead and mention again that we have $6,000, we have 10 in the cemetery reserve, and we have a set aside funding in the American Rescue Plan to help or get a good development on the new cemetery annex that we need to do. And we also have funding remaining in the CARES Act. So, I don't like to have to make this kind of major funding in the middle of the year like this. All of these kind of things I like to have budgeted. We cut our millage rate back below the rollback rate, because we don't take requests like this in the middle of the year, but we can handle the funding, I believe. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add too, me and Courtney kind of reviewed the budget and seen a few things where maybe CRA could supplement some of the tree trimming or stormwater maintenance that's in the CRA to kind of, balance the budget back out.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and fund this as we had already committed to, out of general fund budget. We'll work out the details later. My motion is to go ahead and fund out of general fund budget the fireworks as that was scheduled already.
For this year?
For this year, for the holiday on the harbor. And that's it.
I'll second.
Now, I have comment, but anyway.
Okay, Ms. Keisha, that motion is by Commissioner Millender to fund the fireworks as committed out of the general fund budget for this year's holiday on the harbor. And second by Commissioner Brown. Discussion.
All I want to do is reiterate to Ms. Debbie and to the public that you had mentioned at the last moment it was kind of through on you guys. At the last moment it was through on us. We didn't know this until these ladies attended this training session and conference just a couple of weeks ago. That's the first we knew about it. So it was thrown on us as well. Thank you.
It was a big surprise.
And that's not the only thing that was thrown at us. This is just the only thing that's affecting you all. Okay. And Ms. Laurie?
I just wanted to say thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I always does it early. They didn't
You're welcome
vote yet.
very much. Okay. Did we vote?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, let's move on to item 2, discussion of possible action regarding street closure for Holiday on the Harbor event on December the 10th, 2022. And I believe Ms. Lisa Keith Lucas is just going to make that request.
Lisa Keith Lucas on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. I have graphics, but it's really tiny, so I'm not going to show it. The Holiday on the Harbor Street closure is a little different this year, and for, I think, some really good reasons. Normally Holiday on Harbor, the footprint of that usually only goes from Highway 98 down Marine Street to about Avenue C. But the blossoming of that first block of Marine Street has changed the way we look at this festival, and it's allowing us to shift it further down the street and actually have two phases. One that'll be earlier in the day that will end at 5 o'clock, and then the rest of it that goes on into the evening through the boat parade and fireworks. So in light of that, it's a little more complicated, the street closure, but so bear with me. We would like to close on Saturday morning, Marine Street, starting at Highway 98 and going all the way down to the restrooms past the pavilion, or wherever any closure that may be occurring for the fireworks, depending on the location where the fireworks would be headed off. That will also include closing Avenue E at Marine Street to allow power to be taken across the base of that intersection. Avenue B and C will have closures early in the day. The first block of Avenue B up to the end of Lost Treasures will be closed, and Avenue C will be closed down to the front edge of the overflow boat parking. There's reason for both of those. The first part of the festival will be mostly up at the upper end. The businesses will open at their usual time. We'll have nonprofits on Avenue B. Come 5 o'clock, those will end, and the roadblock will be moved from where it is at the end of Lost Treasures up to Marine Street, so that closes that stretch of Marine Street alone. Avenue C and Marine Street will be the kids zone, and that section will close also at 5 o'clock, and that roadblock will be brought up to Marine Street. So after 5 o'clock, the closure is Marine Street to the pavilion, and no side streets at all, just the side streets themselves at the entrance will be closed. This, I've talked to as many of the businesses as I can along that stretch to allow for this, and I think everybody is reasonably comfortable with the procedure that we've done. The vendors will be brought in down past George Sands Park and up Avenue C. They're not going to enter at 98 and Marine Street, so we'll bring them in then. The vendors will start at 1 and they'll go till after the fireworks. The entire venue from Marine Street down to the pavilion will stay closed until the fireworks are over to ensure the safety of the pedestrians that are on the street there. So if you have any questions, I know that's an awful lot of map work, and my graphics are not real helpful because they're very small, but I can hand this to Courtney and she will.
All right, do we have questions, commissioners?
I was just gonna say, I know you put a lot of thought and work into this, and I really appreciate it.
The hidden part is where the resources are.
Yeah.
And we're real excited that the food will be down where all the 50 amp outlets are. And that makes my life so much easier, so I'm very excited about that. And I think it's nice because it does bring the crowd down to the pavilion, which is really the best place to watch the boat parade. And we hope that that will limit the number of people that trespass down on the commercial docks that are along the upper end of Marine Street, because they'll have a much better place to watch. And that's where all the food and entertainment and everything will be at the end of the festival. So that's where.
Okay, Commissioner Melander?
The only thing I could think of would be maybe the homeowners at the condos may question some of that.
Well, I'm sure that it's inconvenient for them because we close in front of those poor condos every single festival.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that we don't hear more complaints.
Hey, that's wonderful, but that's the only thought that I have.
Right.
Okay, I would like to know, are you going to block off the overflow parking on Avenue C?
No.
Okay, we want folks to be able to use that.
No, the reason to put the roadblock that far down is actually to allow Mr. John's party train a reasonable route. The way it is, if we have been asked not to allow the train to go in front of Harry's because of the alcohol being served at Harry's outside of the building. And they don't want the train to go down, well, I don't want the train to go down into the area where people are lining up at the food vendors. So that only left from Avenue C just past the condos and back again, and it's very narrow down there. If we kept it open down to the parking area, Mr. John can run his train all the way down the hill and back up, and then at least partly down Marine Street. Once he leaves at 5 o'clock, then we can just close, we can open all that and move the barrier up to Marine Street. That would allow patrons of Harry's to use that parking lot, and they can also use the parking lot on Avenue B, because that will be open as well. And the nonprofits will close when the business is closed, so upper end will be shut down.
All right, very good, thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for all you do for all of our community, all the museums that you do volunteer work and emergency management.
We owe you a
everything.
tour.
Yes, I know it, I've got it highlighted. All right, so any further discussion? Are we ready to make a motion regarding closing these streets?
I'll make a motion that we close the streets as suggested by Miss Lisa Keith Lucas for Holiday on the Harbor.
Okay, and we have, that motion is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, so now we're to old business. Would we like to take a recess? Okay, we're taking 5 minutes. 5 minutes. All righty, I'm going to call to order, reconvene this commission meeting on November 3rd, 2022, Carrabelle City Commission at Carrabelle City Hall. I just got myself out of the half cage, and I've got to get regrouped here. I don't know if you all had a chance to look inside the police car, police vehicle. We appreciate them bringing that over, and I got to turn on the lights, and then they wanted me to get in the half cage, so I did. It's tiny. No, I didn't want to alert y'all in here with a siren. But,
Good thing they let you out.
I don't know how a tall person would fit in there, but anyway. All right, so we're under old business now, and item 1 is discussion and possible action concerning the new signage at George Sands Park and Evergreen Cemetery stormwater retention ponds. And the signage is to include prohibiting domestic duck abandonment, educational resources, and contact information for help to rehome unwanted animals. And this is requested by Miss Melissa Ward, who's here this evening. She worked with, she sent a sample, and then Ms. Courtney sought some consultation from the chief, and we changed that sample up a little bit, Ms. Courtney did, and this is what Courtney is presenting now. Is that correct? Yes. For potential signage. And so if you get a phone call, Courtney, you've got the city hall number on there. So you put that instead of Miss Melissa's number.
Yes,
y'all
yes.
would contact her for assistance.
Yes, they can call us, and then we can contact Miss Melissa. We didn't want to put her personal number up there if she moves away, and then we've got a sign that has her phone number for people to call and harass her. So they can call us with a complaint, and we can get in touch with the appropriate people.
And for those who weren't here, this came about because we have folks that get ducks and other domestic animals as such, and they as the animals grow up, they can't maintain them. And I think Miss Keisha takes on some domestic ducks, I've heard through the grapevine. Where they're being abandoned, just like the people put out a stray cat, and these a lot of people, Melissa enlightened us, that tell us what happens when they put these ducks out.
My name is Melissa Ward, and I've been noticing this for a while, happening all over the country. I follow some duck rescues too, but when people just release like a Pekin duck or a domestic khaki camel duck, or a duck that can't fly, that's just bred to be either a food source or lays eggs or whatnot, that bird cannot protect itself if there's predators. It can't fly away from dangerous weather. There are animals that can be in the pond, like alligators and large turtles, that can bite the feet off of the duck. So they just aren't, they don't do well for very long at all in the wild. And if they're young, they don't get the proper nutrition, so that's what happened to 2 of the ducks that were left at George Sands Pond. They couldn't even walk, so they couldn't do anything to get food or protect themselves at all, so.
So she's requested us to try to discourage folks from leaving ducks at the pond, and a lot of people think if they just put the duck out at the pond, it can survive. So we got this sign here, then recommended by the city administrator and the chief. And do we want to put, Courtney suggested 2 signs?
2 or 3 at Sands Park and then 1 over here at Evergreen.
So it seems like they're amenable to the signage, and about how many would you like then?
Leave that at the court.
2 at Sands is probably good, 1 on each side.
Okay. All right, I don't want to get the park, too tacky with a lot of signs, and I think we could start with 2 and see how that works out, and then 1 at Evergreen Cemetery.
2 and 1.
Okay, all right. Can we have a motion for that to approve or disapprove this pet abandonment sign? And your PowerPoint had number 3-1 on it, because there was a couple of different signs that went by. So that's the one you have up there now, number 3-1, I believe. Is that? Okay, so we have that motion by Commissioner Allen.
I'll second.
And second by Commissioner Brown. And that's at 2 at Sands Park and 1 at Evergreen Cemetery. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion?
Debbie, she has a public.
Okay, all right. Okay, come forward, Miss Debbie.
Sorry, I'm not opposed to putting a sign about abandonment of a pet. My only concern is I live across the street from a pond that I see about the same 3 or 4 ducks on a every other day basis that cross the street and go over to the pond. And I think that there's a lot of ponds here that have the same ducks, different ducks, not the same ducks, but so I'm concerned with how far will this go? Are we going to all of a sudden start popping up signs everywhere? Or I know it's not city.
How many ponds does the city of Carrabelle have?
Just the 2 that I can think of.
Yeah, I know it's not city ponds.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we have.
Yeah, but that's my only concern. And then are we opening up a can of worms for any kind of species that someone recognizes that they don't want, because it's already against the law. And every year they do public service announcements for people around Easter time and that, so that they don't take home little ducklings to their kids, so this doesn't happen. So that's my only concern, but I really don't object to having a sign, because I don't want to see a duck's feet getting eaten. But I just want to be a little bit of a devil advocate and say, that I'm a little concerned that it's opening up maybe a can of worms for future
Well, we can't put signs on any other pond because no other ponds are in the city of Carrabelle, unless they're on private property.
Other creatures or things that,
Well,
might come up, that's all.
They
That's
put
all I
out
wanted to say
anything,
was,
so
yeah.
we know we've got, python problem in South Florida,
Oh, well, that I'd be all for hunting,
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, thank you, Ms. Melissa, and thank you, Ms. Debbie, for your comment. We're going to move to item 2 under old business. Discussion and possible action regarding the commercial building awnings constructed 4 feet and 6 inches from the main building with structural support beams anchored to approximate center of sidewalk. This is requested by Alan Russell at 210 Marine Street at White Kitchen. This is now the 4th time this request has been recently entertained by these board members, once as we were sitting as a CRA board, and then 2 previous times as this commission, and so this now makes the 4th time. And it was tabled last month for further research and investigation, and actually each time it was tabled like that. So do we have any comment at this time?
Go ahead, or I'll listen in first.
Okay, all right, you did a speaker card?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, Greg Christopherson. And I'm not here in favor or in opposition of the project. Most of you know that I provided the conceptual drawing for this building back when it was going to be constructed, and they used that drawing, the architect did, to come up with the floor plan for this building. And that being said, I took liberty to go down to the site and get some fairly accurate measurements so that if you have any questions about the dimensions and everything, I can answer that. But you all have the drawings in front of you. The drawing's an aerial with Marine Street on your left and Avenue B at the bottom. The building is 45 feet 3 on Marine Street and 36.2 on Avenue B. And from the left, you've got Marine Street, then that planter area with the palm trees in it, the sidewalk, and then the building. Marine Street sidewalk is 10 feet wide on the north corner of the building and 9 feet 6 down at the end of the planter further to the south. Then there's an additional 8-inch curb on that side of the sidewalk that's level with the sidewalk, but I didn't include that in the dimensions. Then on Avenue B side, it's wider on the western end, as you can see there, as it curves around the building. And then it drops down to 8 feet wide on the eastern side of the building in front of that door. Let's see. So then on both Marine Street and Avenue B, the black triangles that run down, that's the 4 feet 6 from the building on both sides of the building that represent the 8x8 posts that are proposed to be about 10 feet apart. So I mean, they're not to any particular dimension other than what was described in the application. And then the sidewalk areas on Avenue B also represent the location of the street lamp pole, the fire hydrant, and 2 metal utility access covers. And then also you'll notice there's a circle around the fire hydrant, and that is that represents the National Fire Protection Agency Code 18.5.7.1 that states a 36-inch clear space shall be maintained around the circumference of the fire hydrant except as otherwise required or approved. And I don't know if that applies here or not, or whether that's a code that's on the books here, but that's something that would have to be looked at by the attorney or fire chief or something. And as you can see, that one post is in conflict with that 36-inch offset, so that would have to be looked at. Lastly, that blue line that runs between the edge of the sidewalk and the columns, that's just kind of to show a path of pedestrian pathway where they would have to go around that fire hydrant, or if there wasn't anything on that Avenue B side as far as seating, they could go up against the building between the columns in the building. So as I said before, this was just so you can have an accurate drawing of what's down there, and I can answer any questions you have about the drawing if you like.
Okay, do we have questions regarding the drawing? I do, just for clarification. The sidewalk up at on the north side is 10 feet wide, and is that kind of the same width of the sidewalk like at the next building to the north, the coastal?
I didn't take any measurements further up the street, but just looking at it from that point, it looks to be pretty much the same width, the whole in the front of all those buildings.
And then it seems like the sidewalk then it gets wider because it's coming out to meet up with the plant area.
Right, that is concrete that runs out to the edge of the planter, and then it curves back around on Avenue B, and then it goes back in to meet the sidewalk that's on the east end.
And then you're just, I guess, guesstimating where these posts would be, just starting at
Well,
one
if you
end,
go
going
4
every
feet
10.
6 off the building, then that corner post would be kind of where it is, and then you go 10 feet off of that to, I mean, that's, like I said, that's not that's not a plan for the design or anything. It would all be up to whoever's constructing that as to where the placement would be, but I would assume there'd be one on the corner of the two sides of the building, so.
And then on the far right, on the east side, the sidewalk, then it gets more narrow. Is
Right,
that
it's
correct?
8 feet there.
And
Not
so-
including, there's a curb there though that does have a little drop off.
All right, so to have a 4-foot pathway unobstructed for pedestrians,
You have to go against the building
Okay.
between the column and the,
if they were to put their awning all the way down that way? Okay. Do we have any other questions right now? Okay.
I actually, thank you, Greg. I know it's not a 2-scale drawing, but I visited the site. I didn't get quite as detailed to the inch as you did, but I looked at pretty similar to the same thing.
yeah, it's, I'll tape measure. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It gives us something more to look at instead of the pencil sketch that we had. Does Mr. Russell, do you have something you'd like to say?
Sure.
Okay.
Well. Hey, Alan Russell, like you. Appreciate the drawing and the help. Yeah, it points out a couple little things. One was the fire hydrant, which we realized that, but we were looking at it, and we were going to stagger the poles so they wouldn't be far enough away, not put one near it. And even if it made the pattern a little off, stay away from it. The concern as far as on B Street farther down where it's only 8 feet across, if that's an issue, we can pull that awning in to give it where it's not as far in, and things like that. But I do like the drawing. It is a little bit better than what I had presented, but since I don't have a computer or a printer, this is kind of nice. Any thoughts that you guys had? You said you might have walked down and looked at it.
Yes, Alan, I did. Matter of fact, it was the next day after the meeting.
I appreciate that.
And, well, I'm pretty familiar with it. I've been here so long, but I just wanted to refresh my mind and what it looked like, what the whole area looked like, sidewalk on both sides. And if I have the floor, I might as well go ahead and speak.
Go ahead, sir.
Alan, from my position sitting here, I have most of my concern is going back to the question that was raised at our last meeting about liability to the city.
All right.
And I still have a concern about that. The attorney hadn't been able to convince me otherwise. Matter of fact, he's, with his legal direction, pretty much substantiated what he said at the last meeting. And so I still feel like that there's a degree, depending on how the situation is, there's a degree of liability on the city to put the poles there, especially when there's an opportunity to affix it to the building.
All right.
That's how I feel. Now, the rest of the board here, I don't know how they feel, but that's how I feel.
All right. So they're worried about if someone bumps into the pole?
I'm worried about any liability that made the city mean.
All right.
Any type of liability.
Yeah.
If a vehicle drives up on it, if a vehicle drives up and hits a person up there, if a storm comes through and takes it down, I mean, you know, anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've tried to reach out to my insurance company to find out as far as what would be covered and what wouldn't be covered. What they kind of mentioned was if it's part of your building, it's attached to your building, it's the building. It's when they go around to insuring it, which would be the poles to the ground, the awning, and the building itself.
Well, and Mr. Hartman, our attorney, explained it at the last meeting to me, and he has again, that you, as the current owner,
yes, sir,
would have a liability policy that would name the city. Correct me, Mr. Hartman, if I'm wrong. That would name the city in any kind of claim that was made against by anyone. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Today, with you owning the building.
Oh, I'm on for a long time.
And I hope you do. I really do. I hope you're here longer than I am. But there's no guarantee of that. You understand what I'm saying? You may sell it, something may happen to you, something may happen to me tomorrow. And then that building sitting there with no one that's taking or holding a liability policy on that, but those poles are still sitting on city property.
Okay.
So I do. I have a concern about that. And again, I mean, I'm not wishing anything on you or me
it's
or
a good-
anything
It's a good
else.
concern, I understand that.
And I feel like that me sitting here, I'm having to look out for the welfare of you and for the citizens of Carrabelle, which you are a citizen of Carrabelle. And I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I just want to say, I think you have other options there. We're not against you putting an awning up there.
No.
We just, personally, I've said, I don't want the poles there, but
All right.
I think you could put an awning up without those poles.
That is definitely something we are looking into more and more, as these meetings go along.
So, like I said, we've been through this 4 times now, we need to make a decision one way or the other.
Well, I'm getting more feedback this time, because the other time was, I'm not sure,
Yeah,
thought there was
yeah.
parking place, and I was trying to give the advantage of you going down and personally taking a look to see what you guys thought.
But we want to see your business open.
Yes.
I definitely
Yeah.
do.
Yes, we do.
I mean, we're not against you opening your business by no
All right.
means.
No, that, I appreciate everything.
I remember that when it was a white kitchen, when it was a
Oh, it's
seafood
gonna be again.
restaurant.
So do I.
Yeah, we gotta remember this stuff. But, yeah.
All right.
Okay, and we'll just go down the road here. You know, I expressed the fact that this would be setting a precedent. And, you know, if we're going to allow one private property owner to actually put an addition to their building and anchor it to public property, publicly owned property, then, you know, I can't blame other people for wanting the same. And I might want to put myself a permanent carport in the right-of-way in front of my house. So, you know, we've got to be careful. We can't go about this in a haphazard way. You know, we need to come to some type, if we're really going to do this, some type of protocol, how we're going to do this for all other business owners. Perhaps we need a business district overlay that would have a certain type design or style, how this would happen. But it would be giving you a new footprint to your building, and it would give you an approximately additional 442 square feet to your building. And and all of this, if you say, what is your usage that you say that you're planning? We're
I
planning
would
for
like to
that.
put benches out there, if possible tables,
And
with
if
your
you-
permission.
If you put tables, then it's going to block all of that. So that is giving you a permanent use of that sidewalk. It's not temporary like Harry's has. And so we would need to, you know, study this and maybe, you know, have a real city planner come and help us decide how we want to move forward with this. But, you know, we don't even have a sidewalk encroachment agreement or anything. You know, we're just understanding what your proposed use is. So, you know, I will say, you know, I am not for putting poles in the middle of the sidewalk, and we're all aware there's a company, Oyster City Brewery Company, over there in Appalachia, who has an awning, but it's constructed differently than what you're verbally proposed and what your sketch is. Not this one now, but that.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe we would take a look at that and consider something like that, but for all of the city of Carrabelle, not just a one-time.
What is theirs like?
Theirs comes out to the sidewalk. It comes all the way out to the sidewalk,
The end of the sidewalk?
to the curb. It comes out
Okay.
to the curb.
So the
And
planner, or that way you just breeze the whole area, so there's nothing blocking?
there's plenty of room, and there's parking spaces. And actually, and they have constructed bench seats connected to each structure, each beam, and they sit at those bench seats, so there's no tables that can be moved, no chairs that can be moved, and there's a constant 4+ wide pathway. And then they sit on those bench seats there, and actually one bench seat sits out, the person is
Okay, I
sitting
see
on the
that.
outside Yeah, there you go, is not even under the awning. And also something, you know, if this is the awning is gonna come down in the middle of the sidewalk, then if it's raining, the pedestrians are gonna really get dumped on if they have to walk outside, you know, and if they're putting tables inside, it's gonna be a permanent obstruction. The sidewalk is cracked up pretty good in that area on the corner of here, in this corner I noticed the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And, you know, we may want to repair that someday. We need to know where are the underground utilities. What are we gonna be looking, you know, at, you know, if we don't know what your blueprint, I mean, if you're gonna really propose something like this and you really want us to get down with it, we need to know, we need to see a real blueprint and what your plans are. And we need to know if you're gonna put those poles down in the ground somehow or anchor it to the concrete.
If we bridged all the way across and did not touch the sidewalk, you'd be happy with something like that?
Well, then you're in conflict with the light pole. And what I would suggest is that you get yourself some blueprints.
All right.
And decide, you know, and then that's what I would suggest. But
we can work on it.
but I'm sure Mr. Commissioner Cal Allen would like to speak.
I would think that it would be nice to have it there. I'm in favor of it. I think that, all the buildings look the same when you don't have anything to break them up. And just a little variety here and there. If somebody else come up with a good idea, and it was a good idea, then go with it. And it would make our town not look just like a little dead area.
Yeah, I think there's some leeway on both sides that we can come up with some idea that makes you guys happy, keeps the lawyers happy, you know, and everything like that. We just gotta figure the common ground out.
And the fact that the curb, I mean, the area goes way out, even though it's city, it still, could be decorated.
Yeah.
Let's give Commissioner Brown a moment too, if she would like to speak.
I'm in a combination of the mayor and Mr. Cal Allen. I'm all for an awning because walking downtown in the rain, you get drenched. So any kind of coverage we can get is great. But with the poles in the middle of the sidewalk, I don't agree with. I've said from the beginning that I think they should go all the way out to the end, similar to Oyster City.
Yeah.
So I just think it needs to be redesigned because if you're adding tables underneath your awning and then the pedestrians have to walk outside of it, that's just not fair.
It's not right.
Yeah.
Well, because the way I see it and the way a lady that was in here tonight, she's already gone, she called me on the phone and she sees it as if we are the city would permanently be giving permanent use of 4.5 feet of sidewalk, 442 square feet to a private property owner.
Well, folks, y'all help me out here. I'm getting a little confused. I think the only thing that we're addressing here is post, not the awning. And I see us getting a little bit off subject. We're not addressing the awning, we're addressing post.
Well, he wants to put posts down. I'm not in agreement with the post.
Well, let's vote on it.
Well, I was gonna say, post is all that we're supposed to be addressing.
So, if you want, and Commissioner Melander said at the last meeting, if you want to,
I'm gonna make a motion that we deny the request for the post to go in the city sidewalk.
Okay.
The awning's not the subject, just the post.
Just the post,
Yes.
all right.
I second that motion.
And say that again, Commissioner Melander, deny the request for the post.
Post to be placed in the city sidewalk by this request.
Okay. Okay, and we have that motion by Commissioner Melander, second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any further discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
All right.
Alan?
Yeah.
Still want you to have an awning in a business.
Yeah. I'm getting some enlightenment here, so we're working on it. All right, and I'll go down there and check out and see what the brewery has and see how we can work that out.
Good luck.
So we're still working on it.
All right, very good. Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. All right, item 3, discussion and action, possible action regarding development of boat ramp overflow parking on Southeast Avenue C. And Mr. Russell presented a conceptual on October the 6th. And it was tabled for him to bring us back some survey info. If we needed a topographic survey, we wanted to delineate the wetlands, delineate the location and type of trees, and maybe we were going to talk about a stormwater ditch. So.
Okay, so we did locate the survey that Thurman Roddenberry had done. However, he did not have trees located on it, nor topographic information. So we went out and field located the trees here. What you see in green, those trees are the large pine trees there. Those are 20 inches plus. Some of those are quite large, and from our assessment, those are over 100 years old. Those are very old pine trees. So we think that those would be worthy of protecting to some extent. Those are longleaf pines. Most of those are longleaf. I think there's a couple in there that may be
Either
something.
laurel or slash.
Yeah. Okay. Right. The two trees in the middle you see there that are the magenta color, those are water oaks, not worthy of saving. So we would recommend those to be removed. You typically you don't want to water up next to a parking. It drops a lot of limbs and litter and whatnot. So we also made an assessment of the wetlands in this corner, and really the wetlands there are confined to the ditch, and there's a small area in the far northeast corner that appears to be wetland, but the majority of it is not wetland from our assessment. So we took that information, and if you go to number 2, Courtney, we rearranged the site here. We also changed the dimensions of the boat parking spaces and the drive aisle width. We increased all those. So in the previous plan, we had about 20 boat parking spots. In this plan, we have 11. So about half as many. And again, we increased the size of those spots. And then kind of threaded the needle there with the drive aisle exit out to 3rd Street. So that's the general concept. Again, there's room for some adjustment here as we move forward with the final design. But wanted to share this with you for your comment.
Well, certainly that's an idea, and you are suggesting to take out the 2 magenta.
Yes.
Okay. And the other 2 on the north side, or the one on the north side, if that one came out, that would give you 1 more space, I think.
Yes.
Northwest side.
Yes.
Don't know about that tree, that one tree there. And so, just to confirm, you said that the wetlands were confined to the ditch, except for this, say that again?
The far northeast
Okay.
corner. Yeah.
But you'd need you'd need a culvert, right? You're gonna have to
We
have a
would,
culvert. Okay.
yes.
Okay, Commissioner Brown?
Would it be more beneficial, because this is for boat ramp parking, to get rid of these 4 parking spaces for normal cars and just extend the boat ramp parking? Or is that, how many could we get, like maybe 2 more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you. There has been discussion of improving the building there, the old water plant. So
Right.
we we showed that as regular parking for that purpose, but it could be, whatever the pleasure of the board is. We can make that all boat parking.
So Commissioner Brown, you're talking about the four on the south side?
Do y'all mind if I do that so I can point? I don't have to say an ordinance and all that. Is it possible that we could extend regular car parking right here and then extend the boat ramp parking here?
Yes.
So we could even get more regular cars here, and then, of course, we want as many boat ramp parking as we can get.
Yeah, I would think that's possible, absolutely.
Is it possible to do it in phases? The parking that would be on the west side towards the building, do that later when we get the building rehabbed?
Right, because, whatever work is, right.
Yeah, it could tear it up. But just have, and so I can't tell or remember how many little regular car parking spaces are on the east side up there? 5. And so then you'd probably be able to get 3 more spaces down on the south side here, a vehicle, trailer vehicle. So 3, and maybe if you took out one green tree there, you could get maybe another one there on that north.
15. Just max out.
Would that help?
Certainly.
Would that, would that help? 15, 11,
15
and 3?
spaces?
Oh, yeah, 15 spaces.
Yeah, well, I hate to say it this way, depending on how much it's gonna cost us to do that. But, and the other question I had, Russell, on that small wetland area, are we gonna be able to utilize that or leave it?
We would have to, I would recommend that we leave it. I would recommend we leave it undisturbed.
Now I remember back 5 years ago or longer when we were discussing that as a possible site for this city hall. And it was determined that that was a wetland right there that we couldn't do anything
with. We needed more room than this parking lot. So,
We did, but it was discussed.
Yeah, it was. Now, some people, once people see that that's a designated parking spot, you'll probably find that you'll get 1 or 2 that park out in the right of way on that Avenue C there as well. So, and I know we're worried about the cost. We have a certain amount of money in the boat ramp account. But the CRA spent a tremendous amount of money on that boat ramp, parking, triangle parking, non-pervious over there. But it was justified because it was needed and it lifted the area up. Maybe, we could start this and the CRA could somehow come up with some funding. I don't know if y'all know, we didn't spend as much on our paving projects as we thought we were going to have to. I think we came out with an extra 30 or something around there. So, maybe we can help that way. But what do you think, Mr. Russell, on the gravel parking lot estimate then for this? That's adding the 3 down here on the south side and 1 up there on the northeast side.
Taking out the big tree too.
All the trees have to be included in that price.
I think we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80,000. And we would do this similar to how we did the gravel parking at Sands Park, where we lay down fabric under the rock, and that helps prevent weed growth. But it would require maintenance.
How would the parking spaces, individual spaces, be delineated?
Yeah, that is an issue when you put gravel in.
Yeah, that kind of moves.
Could we do some kind of
Curb
bumpers?
stops?
Yeah.
That's not a bad
Railroad
idea.
ties?
Railroad ties would last
Mhm.
longer than any other timber type product. They're not as forgiving as the bumper stops, but we could use that as well.
We don't want it to be forgiving.
Okay.
I'm looking for some way that we can move this off the agenda item and put it under if we want to continue, put it under Russell's staff report to help move things along. So if we want to continue with this, I think next step would be a scope of work. So we would have Russell bring us a scope of work and maybe an updated plan, as we've discussed here, to add 4 additional spots.
Yes.
And we will, if we approve to move forward like this, let Russell present that under his
report.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe a handout of the, to move the process along quicker, a handout of your conceptual, maybe if you could send that with your monthly report, and then we could look at it or have it here at our desk and, have it already in our minds, what we're going to be looking at.
Sure.
So do we want to have a motion for Russell to bring us a scope of work regarding this project?
I'll make a motion that Russell bring us a scope of work and a new plan.
Okay, and that motion is by Commissioner Brown. Do you have that, Ms. Keisha?
Yes.
Second.
And the second is by Commissioner Melander. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, we thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 4, discussion and possible action regarding funding recommended Ryan Drive, funding for Ryan Drive stormwater improvements with the American Rescue Plan Act grant. Okay.
Okay.
I'll throw it over to you.
All right. So at the last meeting, we were to find what information DOT had on that area of the right-of-way. So we dug pretty deep. We found some stormwater calculations that were done in 1971, remarkably, but no plan per se. We did find plans from 1999, which is what you see here, and I think something got removed there. But these plans were actually done in metric units. So we had to do a little conversion there, and it appears that the head wall there is about 12 or 15 feet further up Ryan Drive from the DOT right-of-way. That, from our measurements, that's what we see. But as far as we could dig in the DOT information, we did not find where that head wall or the cross stream was surveyed. So we ran into a dead end there on the DOT side. I did send an email out to one of the drainage engineers there to see if he could help us find something more, maybe on microfiche somewhere. But we'll see what he comes back with. But that's currently what we're finding. So the bottom line here regarding the drainage improvement project is that that cross drain is needed. Whether we utilize what's there, whether we're able to find it and utilize what's there, or build a new one, I think that's the solution to the drainage issue here. And that also determines the ultimate construction cost here. We had estimated $130,000, and that may tick up a little bit if we're not able to find that cross drain and have to install a new one.
The 130 was if we could use
The existing one, yes.
And then we don't know, once we get cross Ryan Drive, we do not know where that pipe goes. Is it going to, where, if it's a
That's
dead end
right.
right there, or if it's going out to the river?
That's right. That's right.
Was, I guess Courtney, was Justin able to do any probing down there?
They did, but they didn't find anything.
Nothing. Do you know how deep they probed?
I don't know.
Dan, could it be possible that some of this work was done by the county in years past?
It's county road, and, I mean, when we're talking about some of that structure is under DOT right away, right?
From what I measure, I don't think it is.
I'm looking at it.
Now,
It don't look like it.
It's back.
now, pardon me.
Okay, sorry.
Beyond the limits of the right-of-way here, that property is owned by the state of Florida, not necessarily DOT.
Okay, sorry, I guess that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean.
State-owned.
State-owned land.
Yeah.
But that's out towards the water, right? That's not what, the cross drain is.
Cross drain, I think, is, as far as I can tell, that's the direction it points.
So what we're talking and what we've talked about thus far is we're at a dead end with finding any written information from DOT. We're at a dead end with that boring company that said they hit something solid in there and they couldn't go any further.
Yeah.
Dustin is actually, according to Courtney, has probed and hadn't been able to find anything. I just feel like that somehow that we could get off of Ryan Drive on the west side on that dirt section right away and either find a pipe or no pipe.
Find the end. Find that
Yeah.
end.
Well, with
Yeah.
the ground penetrating radar,
But we, according to what Russell's telling us, we need to know if it's there or if it's not there.
Because you could go in that end if you could find it.
Right. Right, and we don't know what occurred in the past. It could be, for some unknown reason, the far end of that pipe was blocked up and filled in with concrete on that end. And that's what the pipe company encountered. And if that could be removed and reopened, we're speculating.
but
We're
it could be,
speculating.
right, and I would speculate that if it's blocked up, and maybe it was blocked up by somebody to keep water from pouring down on the property. In the past, that used to be a restaurant down there.
Mhm, right.
And it used to be a private house before that. So somebody could have blocked that up, and once you find the end of it, it may be going to nowhere anyway.
I have another question. Mr. Attorney, that's county road, right? County right.
That is, yes, we believe it is. This is we've never had any.
And I really don't want to open that can of worms, but I want to ask for help him make a decision. Because what I'd like to do is see a piece of equipment go down there on that road shoulder and dig it up and either find something or find nothing. I mentioned that at the last meeting, to get county's road crew to come over here with their grabber and dig down there until either you find a pipe or you don't find the pipe. Because we need to know that. But the question I'm asking, are we gonna be doing that, taking it upon ourselves to do that on a county right of way?
I don't think we've had this kind of, each project we treat as its own thing with the county, right? So we could ask the county if it's okay if we do that exploration. I can ask the county attorney, we could ask administrator to administrator, ask. I'm sure what their response would be, go ahead and have at it. We think it's your right of way, right? And that's fine, then we go do what we need to do, and as a practical matter, I don't think that matters either way, and we do our investigation. Or we can ask the county, to, from what you're saying, they might have equipment we don't, and we ask the county to go out there and look around and say, we're trying to get to the bottom of this. can we kind of work together like we did on the Ryan Drive culvert before?
And Chief Schuman wanted to speak as well on this.
Yeah, I spoke to the county attorney Schuler in reference to the truck route, some time ago. And he informed me that is county road, although they give us access to it and let us maintain it, it is still under the county's jurisdiction, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we want to instruct staff to contact the county to ask if it's okay to complete some investigation there and explore that area for a pipe?
Do we want the county to do the exploration, or do we
Well,
want to do it?
it would be nice if they could come out. We don't have the equipment right now. We've got a tractor ordered, but we don't know when she's coming.
Okay, and let's group up on that, we can figure it out. Who's the best person to contact, whether it's
Yeah,
commissioner to
Courtney.
commissioner, or Courtney to Mike
But
Marone, or
I think
myself to
staff
Mike
to
Schuler?
staff, would be better.
Justin has an appointment tomorrow to go up there to look at the trailer and go, the tractor and go over all the stuff and they'll deliver it next week.
Okay, all right,
That
thank you.
tractor's not gonna do what we need to do on that road shoulder. That's not designed for that. We need a backhoe or a digger.
A mini excavator, I think, would
Exactly.
be best.
Do we have a mini excavator? Can we use it? I don't know if we can use it. I know we do. I mean, we've got a brand new mini excavator, but it belongs to the water and sewer.
He can bring it out.
Should we just ask the
Just hang
county
on.
first?
I can get with Charlie and we can have a meeting.
Commissioner Brown wants to know, should we ask the county first?
What's the fastest way to get this done, most efficient?
The fastest way is probably do it ourselves.
Now, if we find something that we want the county to manage, then we'll let them know. Okay.
Yep.
You don't think that, please. Okay. All right, so we're gonna, no info from the DOT, no info from Churchwell. They can't find anything. We're gonna get see if we can get an excavator out there to do some digging. Then what about covering it up once we dig up out there?
Right, you have to place it back and then sod on top.
Is it going across the driveway? Commissioner Melander, you're wanting this to happen badly, I can tell it. Is it going across the driveway access? What's gonna
Well,
happen?
Mayor, let me clarify
Okay.
something for you. I'm not wanting it to happen badly, I just wanna see it move forward.
Mhm.
Things kinda get stagnated.
Um,
And, I'd like to see us move and do something positive. And that's what I'm trying to portray, and if it's in that driveway, I don't know if it's in that driveway or not.
It's partially.
So-
I think it would impact the driveway.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to dig across their driveway access where their business is. Is that correct?
No. I should say, maybe about 4 to 5 feet of it at the most. From what I could tell, it looks like it would clip the corner of their driveway.
Okay.
They would still be able to access the property.
All right. We don't want them doing it when it's gonna rain, when it's
No.
going to rain.
Right now it's good.
Yeah, Mr. Christopherson?
Greg Christopherson, just a quick question. Is there any way they could get a camera down in that?
That's what Churchwell did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought they were just blowing it out.
Who's gonna oversee this project, Courtney, digging this stuff out here?
I'll be glad. We'll be glad. We'll be out there as it's being done.
Are we going to fund this with the American Rescue Plan grant? That's the question on the item. We need to get some answers, as Commissioner Melander says, pipe or no, is there really a pipe there? And then, once we find that pipe, what are we going to do?
Well, that's a cheap way to determine is there a pipe there or not. If we
Okay.
don't find it, we have our answer, we put a new one across.
All right, if we find it, then we'll probably have to dig it up on that west side and see what's happening with it. All right. Okay, so make a motion to go ahead and have them come out with the excavator and investigate for the pipe.
I would like to do this, Mayor, if,
Okay.
and let me make a suggestion. See what you think. I would also like to move this item to Russell's report, because it looks like it's gonna be an ongoing thing for a while. Move it to Russell's report, and I'd like to make a motion to do that, and make a motion to move this item to Russell's report, and to follow through on what we've discussed here tonight, with Russell and staff digging up the road shoulder on the west side and see if they can determine where that pipe's located.
I'll second that.
All right. We have that.
What?
Motion by Commissioner Melander, second by Commissioner Brown. Discussion.
Okay.
How are we funding this project?
That's the item to begin with.
That's the item. How are we funding this project? Okay, so we have this motion to move the item to Inovia's report. We don't know how we're going to pay Inovia. And we're going to use city equipment at this time to explore that site. So it's just city equipment and city labor. And I don't know if Russell's going to come on site when that happens or what. But we still don't know how we're going to fund the project. But we can dig it up and see what we have and make a decision after that, about that.
That's okay, but let me ask one question. Didn't we discuss during the American Rescue Plan some money for this project?
No, we discussed money for stormwater drainage.
And we had a
And
reserve
we
for
had,
contingencies.
and there was no project identified.
We didn't identify a project.
And we had 200,000 set aside for citywide stormwater drainage projects.
That's correct.
And so, you know, do we want to use that for this project? You know, we don't know what we want to do at this point. And I can't remember, can you remember what the contingency was? Bill, you have it
Looks like
there.
I put 119,107.
Okay, so there wasn't, not much.
Not quite enough in the contingency.
So if you put the contingency with the stormwater allocation, you'd have, you know, somewhere just over 300. But that lets you know what stormwater mitigation costs. It's outside. Okay, so we have this motion to move the item to Inovia's report and by Commissioner Melander, and to explore the left side or the west side of the road in that area, second by Commissioner Brown. My further discussion would be when we get more information, this will be under Inovia's report, then we can decide further how, if we're going to get a scope of work from Mr. Russell. Once we get a scope of work, if we decide to do that, then we can decide how we can fund it.
I agree.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Thank you all for working together on this scope of work and then funding. Okay, thank you, Russell, very much. Item 5, discussion of possible action for downtown Carrabelle business parking. Okay. This will now be the 6th time this item's been heard and discussed by this board. 6 times tonight. The item was tabled from October the 6th commission meeting where we agreed to focus on the business area first and then return to the overnight parking issues on the south end of Marine at a later date. We agreed the business area is the first block on Tallahassee Street from Highway 98 to Meridian. We agreed the business area is also the first 2 blocks of Marine Street from Highway 98 to Southeast Avenue C. And we agreed that the main issue in the Marine Street business area was vehicle trailer units taking up several spaces at once for several hours. And then we also agreed the secondary issue on both sides of Highway 98 was business owners and their employees parking several hours in front of their neighboring businesses, blocking neighbors' storefronts and taking up the public parking in front of their neighbor's business. Do we all agree with that? Okay. So Courtney, we had a unanimous vote to direct the administrator and the chief to work together to design some signage with wording. And Courtney's designed some signage, and the chief has some input on that as well, I believe. But we'll let him notify us if he does. So Courtney, I'll toss it to you then.
I did the signs, customer parking only, no vehicles with trailers between Highway 98 and Avenue C. Also one for the other side of the road, no vehicles with trailers between Meridian and Highway 98. The chief and I did have some discussion about the customer parking only, or should it be vehicle parking only? And then I had in my notes that we would have a sign that says no vehicles with trailer parking beyond this point. I believe there would only be 2 of these signs, one headed north on Marine Street and one headed south on Tallahassee Street. That is the signs. Like I said, the discussion and motion was for customer parking or business parking.
I think riding by almost daily, maybe 5 times a week, once or twice during the business hours. I haven't seen a big issue out there, but I think they're trying to work together, except for in the mornings. I see this one very big vehicle, and it's parked across 2 or 3 parking spaces, totally blocking the storefront. And that's generally before 10 o'clock or between, somewhere up to 10:30 or somewhere around in there. I'm not understanding that part, but it seems like they've kind of worked it out somewhat with the business owners. I think it's important to do the vehicles with trailers, no vehicles with trailers, beyond this point or between Meridian or 98. That's an issue. I like the vehicle parking only, and I would like for it to say 1 vehicle per space, so that we don't have these vehicles doing the same thing that the trailers are doing, parking across 2 or 3 spaces. I don't know why they're doing that, but anyway, that's me. Yes, ma'am.
Well, our motion was for customer parking only, and this is exactly what I came to the commission with, and came to talk to Courtney with 3-4 months ago, or however long it was, is this right here. This is all that we originally asked for, and this is what we made the motion for. And I would like to make a motion that we move forward with these signs. The customer parking only, no vehicles with trailers between the streets that we discussed. And then the 2 signs that say, no vehicles with trailer parking beyond this point.
Okay, we have that motion by Commissioner Brown, and I see that the chief wants to speak. We'll do that during discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, Chief Schuman.
I think it needs to say vehicle parking only. And the reason for that is if you do customer parking only, it's going to be hard to prove if there's a dispute about someone parking there, if they're a customer or not. When it's vehicle, it's going to be a little bit easier for us to enforce. Because customers, when you say customer parking only, it makes it where it seems like it's just to that business only. Like that business owns that parking place or that parking spot. Where you specify a vehicle, then only a vehicle can park there. And if it's anything outside of the vehicle, truck, boat, trailer, whatever, then we can take care of that. So I think it should say vehicle parking only.
What would be outside a vehicle?
I know.
Well, I mean, if you have a customer there, a lot of people are not customers. They may drop something off, they may be there to pick something up. They may be delivering food to a restaurant. So if you have customer parking only, are they going to they can't park there. So if you have a vehicle, that's.
But that's not having to do anything with your enforcement of it, chief.
Well, if a business owner comes out and goes, hey, this person's been here, parked here for 2 hours, they're not a customer, then they're gonna call us to come down and resolve the problem.
And I worry about our citizens that are not customers, that don't frequent the gift shops. Will they be able to park downtown or what? I know I won't be able to, because I don't frequent the gift shops, so I won't be a customer, so I guess I won't go downtown.
The whole issue started with truck and trailer parking. This is where all this started from. So you want to focus on the parking issue. Leaving it vehicle parking only eliminates everything else, and it takes care of that. When you start putting customer in there, then you make it a little more personal. You're saying, okay, well, only a customer can park here. No, that's city property. It's a parking place. It's owned by the city of Carrabelle. So anybody that has a vehicle should be able to park there, but it needs to specify vehicle.
So if I want to go down there and watch the fireworks, I won't be able to park there?
If it says customer parking only and the business owner comes out and says, hey, she's not a customer, she needs to move.
This is what we've been discussing for months.
I know,
And
it
we've
since
gone over
July.
this
So,
so many times in detail.
we have a motion for customer parking only and with the no vehicles with trailers between the Meridian Street or beyond this point, however Courtney has presented there. Are we ready to vote? We're in discussion. Are we still ready? Are we ready to vote?
Let's do this.
All righty, Commissioner Brown wants to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Are those who oppose?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and that motion carries 2-3, and Allen and La Paz are nay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Yes, Miss Sharon Glaze.
Can I please just make one statement?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And then we're on our way out here to adjourn.
This is not about this, and I've tried not to say anything throughout this whole campaign about unethical behavior with signs. But it's unethical, and when Ms. Keisha handed us packets about running our campaigns in there, I should have brought the paper with me, it says not to put a political sign in a right-of-way. Am I right? And there are signs everywhere, multiple signs. And it really doesn't matter whether you feel it's hurting anyone or not. It is hurting people because it's illegal, and not all of us want to do something illegal to keep up with Mr. Jones. Then, I still wasn't gonna say anything about it. And tonight, when I went out to see the beautiful new car that the police department has, in someone's window, sitting in the front row, where all the people were gonna come in and out, someone has a elect Bill Gray sign in the windshield for everyone to see. I guarantee you, if I had a hat on my head that I wear every day that says elect Sharon Glaze, and I wore it into this meeting, it would have been removed. Someone would have asked me to remove it because it's not ethical or legal. So whoever has the Bill Gray sign and whoever has the illegal signs, I mean, I don't need to lecture you, you're all intelligent people, and that's why I gave my 3-minute
Ms.
thing.
Gray, thank you. And we understand there's a difference between ethical and criminal, so we understand where the ethical part falls into play. So, anyway.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, very good,
Second.
thank you. And that motion to adjourn is by Keith Walden, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, good night, thank you all.
Thank you all.